Hey friends, welcome back to She's At It Again. I've got a project I need to get done. I have 4 of these and I'm going to turn these into tiny barn quilts, but I want you to go with me as I try to paint one of them. So it's going to be a long process, but go with me. And the girls are happy because we're staying out in the sunroom today and they love taking a nap while I'm over there painting, ironing, sewing, doing whatever I'm doing. So anyway, go with me as we turn this little block of painted wood into a tiny barn quilt to use as an ornament, as a gift for somebody. Okay, first of all, we're going to start out with our blank canvas, if you will. This is, it looks like a wooden block with little furniture protectors on the bottom, but it came as a set like this, and this is the tag that came on it. And what they are is wooden coasters. These are almost 4 inches by almost 4 inches, but it was pretty much exactly what I was looking for. They're retailing at Hobby Lobby for $4.99, and they were 40% off when I went in to get them, so I was excited about that. All right, so we're going to take one of them, and I'm just using apple barrel paints. I have gobs and gobs and gobs of paints because I'm always working on some kind of project, whether it be a big one or a small one. And I just haven't, just a really an old brush. You can tell how much I've used this. My good brushes, my brushes for my oils and my watercolors are well taken care of, but the acrylics, not so much. So I'm just gonna start by, basically this is gonna be a primer on this. This is not necessarily the background color, but I only wanna paint the top surface of it. And the only reason I'm using white is because it's easier to draw out my pattern on the white and be able to see it to paint it later on. If I do a black background, which is a lot of the things I paint has a black background, I just think things show up better on black. And so I use black a lot, but the only problem is I have to use a white marking pencil to do my pattern, and it's just not quite as easy to work with. So I'm going to start out with this one just with a white background so I can just use a graphite pencil and it'll be real visible. Don't worry about if you get these little blobs in there. Those are called boogers in the painting world, if you're wondering. And don't worry about getting those on there because you can easily sand over this and get any of those imperfections out. I have a couple of pieces, or maybe even the last 3 over there in this stack that have some kind of little indentation in them. I may even fill that in with wood filler or joint compound. I don't know. Just depends. Actually, it depends on if I remember to do it before I paint them. The easiest way to get a smooth edge on this is to paint toward the outside and make sure and lift your brush as you're coming off the edge like that. That way it doesn't go down the side. And again, you can always sand that off at this point if you get paint on it, so not to worry too much. Okay, that's ready to allow to sit aside and dry for right now. Okay, I want to show you a little bit about what I'm doing just to clarify things before I get going too far. So I've taken my measurements of my square piece of wood and kind of drawn it out on a grid. So I start with the center. I find the center point, and then I look at the picture that I'm going to be making a duplicate of for a barn quilt. Now this is, I've got my pencils out here and up here. This is the one I'm going to be doing. I've saved all these on Pinterest, but I'd like to copy this one right here. I think the colors are pretty. I may change some of the colors up just a bit, especially the white background. Not crazy about that, but we'll get to that later. So I'm taking this center point, and I've decided that each one of these little boxes right here is 9 of the little tiny squares on my grid. So this would be 9, this would be 9 right here, and then I just have to draw a diagonal line right here. So transfer this to down here. That's what I've done. I've started with the 9 blocks in the center. Here's my center point. The block above it is 9 as well. I drew a diagonal and then drew that part. So I'm just now starting out, but what I've done also is I copied down, I find the color that closest resembles that color. This is just one of many sets of pencils. I have gobs and gobs of pencils, but I colored this one in, and then I made a little mark over here so I could see what color it was. Then I wrote down the number on the pencil. They have numbers on the sides of them. So this is 771. The green is 771. So I'll continue that. I'll just do a quadrant, kind of like I did when I did my big barn quilt. Started with the center block and went out from there, wrote down my colors. Here's my key for my colors down there. So I'm just going to do that one like that. So just thought I'd let you know that before I got too far. And my blocks are still drying now. We have one of our quadrants done. Now remember, you don't have to do all 4 sides. You just have to do a 1/4 of it, just like I did on this up here. Even though I drew this out, I only colored 1/4 of it. So we're just going to do 1/4. You can always just rotate your page to transfer the pattern off on what you want. And again, this is what it's going to look like right there. And the wood's pretty dry now, so I'll give that a little sand and we'll get started tracing off our pattern onto the wood. At this point, I have taken this design and transferred it onto this. I started with my center point by drawing a line with this from corner to corner, and from this corner to that corner, found my center point, and then from there started drawing my grid lines with even measurements. So I've transferred this design onto this. I'll repeat this on the other ones, and then we will start painting, and hopefully I'll remember to turn the camera on so you can see that. I should have done that when I was drawing this out, but I just didn't think about it because I was kind of listening to a video in the background. So anyway, hopefully we'll pick up with the painting and you can see what I'm doing with it. Okay, I think I'm finished with this. I just have to do some sealing, sign the back, put a sentiment on the back of it, and put a little hook on it, but I wanted to show it to you. Now, I don't normally paint the thread in here, but I thought it might be kind of fun because it's so small. But I do have to tell you, I changed the color of the green. We started out with a darker green, so I changed to a lighter green. Now, you're probably thinking, where's the gray? Where'd she put some gray on here? When you're painting in red, if you don't base it or you don't paint first with a gray paint, whether it's light gray, a little bit dark gray if it's a dark color, I just went with a medium to dark gray. I probably should have gone a little bit lighter. But if you don't undercoat it with gray, you will be painting red forever. You will never, ever, ever paint through all your brush strokes unless it gets so thick it'll look like you have some kind of fabric over it or something. It's just ridiculous because the pigment in red just is not strong enough to stand on its own. So undercoat it with gray. I don't care if you're painting a wall, if you're painting something on a t-shirt, if you're painting on a little piece of wood, or you're painting anything. Undercoat it with a gray paint. That's your little piece of information to stick in your mind's pocket to remember for the next painting project. Anytime you use red, always, always, always paint under it with gray. So this is what it looks like, and the colors are okay. It would not be my first choice as far as if I looked in a catalog with a bunch of little tiny quilt patterns, go, oh, I love that. I don't necessarily get drawn to gold and yellow and red, but I thought these colors looked nice together and they looked a little bit Christmassy. So this is going to be one of the ornaments that I give to someone. I usually try to give handmade ornaments of some kind to somebody, something handmade, just because I want them to know I thought about them the whole time I was making this. And isn't that the purpose of making something handmade? So anyway, I don't know that you could buy this in a store anywhere, but anyway, this is our teeny tiny barn quilt. It's going to turn into an ornament. You could use it for other things, put a little hook on the back for them to just hang up somewhere that's a little tiny area. But anyway, hope you've enjoyed this, and we look forward to sharing something again with you real soon. Oh, and I wanted to say also, I knew I'd almost forget this if I didn't say it now, but don't worry about messing up on this. I know it's tiny. I know it looks like, oh, everything's perfect on here. She stayed in the line. I didn't stay in the lines the whole time, but you've got all your colors here. I mean, I've got all my paint bottles right here. They're turned upside down, ready to reuse. I mean, I just keep using them over and over and over again. I come back, if I get out of the line on this, then I come back with the white and fix it. I even fixed the areas of thread. If where I painted the little marks for the thread, if it looked too big, I came back with a background color and painted over it. But I've got my colors right in there. They're not custom blended. It's not shaded anywhere at all. So it's easy to come back and just fix it with that color. So don't be afraid of the paints. The paints are fun. The paints are your friend. So anyway, see you guys. Bye.